Good morning everyone. Well, I thought I would give you another video update of positions and some of the comments on the latest on the fleet, what's happening, and we'll try and keep it simple and quick. Basically, the other thing I'll point out is that when Christophe does a French language written post on Facebook for updates, the automatic translation to English is very good. If I do a written post in English and look at the auto translation into French, it's very bad. So this may become a bit of a regular thing. I'll do reasonably regular video updates of the positions and talk about that, and then Christophe will do the written description, and so you'll have both. You'll have a reasonable written one. We talk about it all before Christophe does his thing, and it seems to work. So Francesco is just about to cross the equator. These positions are 4 o'clock UTC this morning, which is about 6 o'clock our French time, and it's now 8 o'clock, so they're about 2 hours old, and at that point he had about 10 miles to go to the equator. So still on the northern side, but heading down. And Antoine's been taking it easy for the night. He's had a shoulder injury since the weekend. I'm not sure what happened. It might have got bounced off something. And he's just resting his shoulder, and we'll talk a bit more about that tonight. We're actually going to release a press release tonight. There's a few things happening, and we'll update everyone then. So Antoine's there. I'll just boost this up to a double size now. So Antoine's over here. He's currently making 3 knots, been doing that most of the night. He dropped his sails. He said there were squalls around. He just wanted to rest up. So he's been taking it easy for the last, the last 24 hours or so. The other thing I'll point out is that if you're looking at Tapio's position right now, he's way back in the fleet, so you think, what's he doing? Well, actually, that position goes back a couple of days. That was on the 20th of August. It's now the 23rd, so it's 3 days old. He'll be down around here somewhere now, but he's had a lot of power problems, and yesterday his batteries were down at 9 volts, and if you understand voltage, that's a dead flat battery. So he managed to get his water generator going, and he'll be slowly topping up, but we still might only pull him into one position a day, and we'll get that up on the map hopefully in the next day or so, and you'll see him again. So Istvan's back here. I'll push the weather to give you an idea of what the wind's doing, because that'll explain a big part of what's going on. So Mark and Istvan down the back end of the fleet, they're doing okay right now. They've got a bit of breeze, but still not fast. Istvan's doing 4.8 knots, but he's got this breeze, and if he keeps coming down to the bottom here, he'll hook up into the other side of the low when you're the high. This is the high pressure system. As long as he's on the bottom side, he's got favourable winds. Mark's the same. He'll be happy with his speed. They're missing the big winds over here. Loic's in a hole. He stopped, very frustrated. If you listen to his phone conversation yesterday, still low on water, and his radio's not working, so he's seriously thinking about maybe he's heading to Cape Town, the same as Philippe, but only time will tell. Hopefully get some rain before then. Abelish is actually not doing too fast, so maybe this wind indicator's not quite right, but he's got 3.9 knots, so only 4 knots. I would have thought he's doing a bit faster. Maybe there's something going on, I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. Look at Susie, woohoo, and Igor. Igor's supremely frustrated right now. We put his phone message up on the SoundCloud yesterday. It's on Facebook as well, and we get now an English translation of the Russian text, so the Russian voice, so you'll be able to see what his comments are, but very frustrated. Not much wind. He's going to sit there for a while. Susie's the same, 1.2 knots. She'd be really happy at the moment, because if you look at the ground that she's lost, remembering she was right alongside these guys a few days ago, and now she's hundreds and hundreds of miles behind. Uku's doing okay, sort of, but he's slowed down because he hasn't got a lot of wind, 4.7 knots, but at least he's headed in the right direction, not like Susie. And the boys here, they're in a very good position, although both making good speed. Ari is going a little bit faster and pulling away from Gregor. He's doing 6.8 knots. Gregor's doing 6.1 knots, so he's making slow ground on there. Doing really well for the smallest boat in the fleet, or sort of the smallest. It's a bit of a anomaly there because it's 32 feet long, but it's a big boat with a good long waterline. The waterline's actually, I think, bigger than Gregor's, but he's sailing obviously very well. Both these guys are. They'll be enjoying their own little race. Mark Slat's 6 knots, doing okay. He'll be reasonably happy with that. And Uku, as I said, average stuff. And Philippe is making his way to Cape Town. We'll be making a major announcement on that later tonight. There's a few things developing with that situation. And also we've got Jean-Luc here. Now, if you saw the post, good old Jean-Luc managed to hit the jackpot with the currents, but I'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. First of all, we'll look at what's happening with the winds if we go through till 24 hours in advance. So this is tomorrow. So the boats will have moved a little bit down the back. They're still moving with breeze. The no wind area for these guys is disappearing, but look what's happening down here. We actually issued yesterday a high seas warning for a few of the boats. We're expecting on the 24th and 25th for certainly Gregor and Ari, they're going to get 7 to 8 metre seas, possibly even bigger from the southwest with this low pressure system that's coming through. So they should be gearing up for that. Mark Slats, he'll be just hitting it in about 24 hours, just starting to build. And Jean-Luc's off the top. So all of these boats, Uku, Abelish is on the tail, on the very edge. Even Susie, if she's slowed down, so she probably won't get into it. She'll just miss it. But we warned these front boats that there are some big seas coming, and it'll be their first ones for this trip. So we thought we'd just highlight that. So if we come forward again a little bit more, you can see this low. This big southwesterly wind's gone roaring across, and Jean-Luc's going to get a bit of that. The highs formed up, so all of these guys up here all of a sudden have headwinds. They're not going to like that. So there's still going to be challenges, boats going all over the place. But now I'll just come over here and look at what's going on, because this is the interesting stuff. These are the guys that are going to get the big winds. If we slow this down, you'll see how it forms up. This is very typical. There's a front here, so you've got the northwesterly winds, which will be cloudy, overcast, possibly raining, preceding the front. Then all of a sudden, these northwesterly winds zip across and come southwest to get blue skies, clouds, just squalls under the clouds, but certainly completely different. And now the next final one I just want to do, remembering if you want to look at the currents here, we just open up the wind scale when we're on Windy TY, hit currents. And you can see you've got the Agulhas current here coming down, which we've spoken about previously. The interesting one for this is that I believe what happens with the currents, they only repost the current forecast about once every 7 or 8 days because they hadn't been moving. And Jean-Luc, if you saw the picture on the post yesterday on Facebook, was looking as if he would have just missed the lower corner. And if I just bump this scale, but all of a sudden yesterday, just as Jean-Luc arrived, they changed the position of this countercurrent here, and Jean-Luc ended up smack bang in the middle of it. Ironically, at the same time as they did that, Jean-Luc sent us a message saying his seas were 7 metres, but he was only blowing 30 knots, and he thought it should have been down around 5, so he was confused on that. And this is his current position. I'll just bounce that up again now. So he went through this worst one. That would have been 4 knots there, and that was building the seas. Normally now the wind's going to be, fortunately, if you remember the wind there, if we go back to the wind, it's coming from the northwest preceding the front, although that's in 2 days. If we go back to real time now, okay, so this is Jean-Luc's position. The wind direction is still from the west. If we now go to currents, right, you'll see he's just coming into it, and the wind is from the west, a little bit south of west. So that's going to be a wind against tide. You may see Jean-Luc comment about this again. If this was true wind against tide, so it's coming out there, this would be horrific here. So Jean-Luc may have a very interesting day. Fortunately, looking forward, this is his next band to get across, this big one here. And fortunately, I think by the look of it, by the time he's there in 2 or 3 days' time, if we come up here through about, say, 3 days when he's there, if we go back to the wind, that's not looking good, 26, 23rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. Okay, watch this space. If it's like that, that's going to be going straight into this current here, coming this way. That might be his next challenge. Anyway, we'll keep giving positive vibes for Jean-Luc. Pull it back here a little bit. You'll see also that on Saturday, he should be the first one round the Cape. So if we go back to winds, the first one round the Cape, you're probably interested in wave height. Just hit waves. These are purple, so if we go down to purple, That's going to be, that's Moreau, there's 6 to 7 metre seas there. So Jean-Luc at the moment is 6 to 7 metre seas. He's doing it tough. The others are just coming into the bigger winds, that sort of 5 metres, bigger seas, all that sort of stuff. So lots going on. Anyway, as I say, there's a lot of interesting things happening. We'll be announcing some interesting issues with Philippe, with Antoine, and also Jean-Luc going up to Cape Town with a press release this afternoon. So see you then. But a lot happening in the next week here. It'll all be very interesting. Thanks a lot.